Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Reptiles in the News, a place where we just compile some cool things that we have found on the interwebs about reptiles and sometimes even some other animals. This first story is actually pretty cool. I'm not exactly sure where this happened because we just saw the video of it, which is amazing, and I'm about to show you, but apparently a pet chameleon, a veiled chameleon, got out of its habitat and crawled up a 3-story building. It was hanging from the facade for 3 days. The thing I love about this video that you're about to see is that rescue crews literally geared up and rappelled down the side of the building to get Cammy the chameleon. They ended up having just a net and they kind of swooped it in, ultimately rappelling down with the animal, and things ended well. And here you go, take a look for yourself.
Got him.
In this next story, I'm going to be honest with you, it would be a treat for most reptile lovers, but it was a surprise to Logan Unger, a golfer on a golf course in St. Petersburg that literally had played an entire round of golf and decided, let's go around and just play another round. On the 14th hole, he thought that there was actually a stick that was right across the green, and he noticed it was kind of blowing around. He thought, that's kind of unusual, and then apparently a bird was actually picking at it. Turns out that it was a diamondback rattlesnake, and a rather large diamondback rattlesnake to boot. Here's the video. Ungerer actually said it was exhilarating. He said, after all, how many times are you going to actually see a huge snake on a green in Florida? Well, it turns out that in Palmetto, there's actually a snake there named Chubbs, and that very week, they saw the snake on a green as well. And according to the golf course, Chubbs is a local resident there and actually crawls around the golf course quite a bit. Turns out that most of the people that play golf there know Chubbs, and he just goes along his way. Let's face it, you know, that's the problem, right? Is that a lot of people see a rattlesnake, they think, oh my God, it's going to attack me. Oftentimes, the rattlesnake gets killed because people are concerned about it, or they even call like a local nuisance. They come and collect the animal, and often it's euthanized as well. In actuality, the animal is just minding its own business and not doing anything. So I want to know from you guys, would you be excited to see a rattlesnake if you were out golfing? Would you even go golfing in the first place? And if you did, what would you do? I think taking a video of it and being respectful is exactly what I would probably do. So that was a pretty cool story. There's going to be a lot of videos in today's In the News, and actually CNR Corrales actually caught an Amazon tree boa giving birth. I think it's amazing when snakes actually are caught in the act of giving live birth. In all the years I've been doing this, in hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of live births that I've had between sand boas, boas, garter snakes, and on and on and on, I've only caught 1 or 2 actually giving birth where I've been actually able to film it. So this is a really cool piece of footage. Way to go, CNR Corrales. That was absolutely amazing. And as with every week, I take a break from the news and I just kind of share the things that I have found on the interwebs that really make me happy. This first one is actually a photo of a striped frog from David Raj. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what species it is. I just know it looks absolutely incredible. So for those amphibian nuts down there, go ahead and comment down below. Let me know what species this is because it's absolutely gorgeous. This next picture actually is from my buddy Miguel over at Always Evolving Pythons. It is a lesser clown. And the fact that it's a lesser clown doesn't mean that it's all that awesome, although I think that's one of the cooler mutations of clowns. The fact that makes it interesting is it's named the Cusca after my buddy Brian Cusco, because of course Miguel pronounces my name wrong. He also pronounces Brian Cusco's name wrong all the time and calls him Cusca. So this lesser clown is an absolutely gorgeous animal, but more importantly, the name is really cool, and you know, you guys can figure it out from there. This next photo is absolutely incredible. It's actually an Owen Pelly python, one of the rarest pythons on the planet, and I actually had the pleasure of meeting this particular animal. My buddy Gavin Bedford in Darwin runs a place called Crocosaurus Cove. Actually is the only person in the last, I don't know, 30, 40 years, whatever the case might be, to actually produce Owen Pelly pythons. He actually received permits to collect them in the Arnhem Land area. He was able to bring, I think, 2.3 into captivity and ultimately produce some babies last year. I believe he's on track to produce some more this year. I hope anyways. They're the only actual permitted Owen Pelly pythons in the world, which I think is absolutely incredible. And again, I had the pleasure to hold these animals. They are unbelievable, big 14, 15 foot long snakes that are only about this long. The thing that's that's interesting about these guys is that they live in the crevices, so they don't really hang on like normal. So when you're normally holding a big constricting snake, it's kind of holding on to you too. These guys just kind of flop around. Very interesting snakes. So way to go, Gavin. Keep up the good work. And finally, this story is a crazy one because you guys may have heard Blake's Exotic Animal Ranch actually produced a scaleless, or what I think they're calling a translucent sulcata, a spur-thighed tortoise. This thing is crazy. I mean, it is the most bizarre alien-looking thing I've ever seen, and I was blown away when I saw the first picture, and there happens to be a really cool video on it as well. We're gonna roll a piece right now.
Walks perfectly, drinks perfectly. He gets soaked every other day. Look at this, you guys. And as the clip you guys saw before, that was right when he was born. Now he is around, or she is about 3 months old.
So it turns out that he actually calls it Avatar, and it's about 3 months old and seems to be doing pretty well. Yeah, it is definitely a freaky animal, and it doesn't go all the way back in its shell because, of course, without a keratin layer, it doesn't have quite as much area to go back in. So apparently it's a little bit more of a shy animal. With all that said, it brings up an interesting thing. Obviously, I've been involved in scaleless corn snakes, scaleless rat snakes. We produced the very first scaleless ball pythons, and these are very controversial things. I personally don't have an issue with it. I think that they're amazing animals, and as long as they're healthy and happy, I don't see a problem with it. After all, we're not releasing this in the wild, and this particular animal certainly wouldn't do good out in the wild, but listen, it's in captivity, it's doing fine. Will it ever be able to be an adult and breed and produce more? I'm not 100% sure. He does know exactly what clutch, so he has a bunch of possible hets if it is a recessive mutation, not to mention he knows who the mother is, so at least he knows one of the parents in the lineage and could potentially produce more scaleless sulcata. But my question to you is, should he produce more scaleless sulcata? Again, I'm a little biased because I feel if we're producing a mutation, as long as it's healthy, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to produce it. It is definitely an extremely freaky animal, but I know from experience with what happened with the scaleless ball python that there'll be people on the other side saying that it should be killed or euthanized, should never produce it again, it's an abomination, it's all these other things. I'm not sure. You know, where I personally fall on this is that every mutation is kind of an abomination if you really think about it. An albino wouldn't really live in the wild, a leucistic really wouldn't live in the wild. Many of these mutations really wouldn't do good in the wild. So where do you draw the line? I realize that some people say, well, yeah, but silky bearded dragons don't do real well. Maybe the scaleless ball pythons aren't as hardy as other animals. I'm not 100% sure. All I can say is that if the animal doesn't seem to be suffering and it's a really cool mutation that can be kept in captivity, I say go for it. I absolutely think this little sulcata is one of the most adorable things in the world. Now, the question is, will it do well? Will it be healthy and all those other things? But I do want to hear from you guys because, again, I know there are going to be people on this side and there are going to be people on that side and they are going to be vehemently opposed. I guess I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I mean, again, I lean more towards, hey, as long as the animal's healthy, it doesn't bother me whatsoever. But again, I understand people that think it's a bad thing. I'm going to leave it up to you guys. And with that, I am going to end in the news this week. And I am going to wish you guys an absolutely amazing day. Remember to be kind to somebody. And you've been watching Reptiles in the News.